Being stylish shouldn't break the bank. At NJ Watches, we offer elegant men's watches without elegant prices. Order from our unique brand to receive up to 50% off and free UK delivery. Visit www.njwatches.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me tonight are a new lineup. We brought back the big guns. The second team dirt trackers did their bit for the last couple of weeks. They carried the team as much as they could, but we've got the big guns tonight. We've got FK. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm really good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. You can find FK at FK Harnage. We've also got, what's the Gooner? Warren, just back from Burnley. How you doing, sir?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I've had a week of it, and I'm in full recovery mode now. Finally sat down on the sofa, ready to chat to you. So
we are honoured. We are honoured because you've had a week, haven't you? You've done some travelling this week, haven't you?
Yeah, we've visited a few cathedrals and that, and we definitely haven't had any beers or anything like that all week. So yeah, I'm nice and relaxed.
Did you find the cricketers after all?
The cricketers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, mate. Yeah. Oh God, it's just been had a great week, and I've seen Akil, been following around with him on his travels all week, so I kept bumping into him all over Cologne and bumping into him in Burnley. So happy days. But yeah, it turned out quite a good week, to be fair, mate. I suppose.
Good stuff. And you can find Warren at Was the Gooner on Twitter. Right, let's kick it off. Hot takes. Ozil was ill. Another controversial late winner. Courtesy this time of Lee Mason, who was much maligned, much derided when he was named the match referee, much like Mike Dean last week. It was our second win in our last 7 meetings, second away win in our last 7 meetings. So, what does that mean? Is that a big result? Let's ask the guys. FK, I want to start with you. When you heard or saw the lineup before the game, and you saw Ozil was out and Iwobi was in, what was your initial thoughts?
I wasn't surprised. I think you guys can vouch for me because we had a little conversation on WhatsApp, didn't we, about, today it's away from home, small ground, a very, very good, well-organised team who get in your faces, they work really hard, and it's a sort of game that you know from history that some Arsenal players can, not turn up at. And for me, it wasn't a surprise that he was missing. I think the fact that he's got a cold or an illness that was, all of a sudden, there's breaking news when he trained fully yesterday, that seems a bit suspect to me. But I personally think that it's no big issue apart from him just being rested for the week. And he's going to miss Wednesday as well against Huddersfield, and he'll be back in the team for Manchester United on Saturday. When I saw Iwobi, I thought, okay, Wenger's obviously gone because he's respecting Burnley. He wants to keep a bit of shape. I guess Iwobi was a natural replacement of that sort of 10 role. It would have been nice to have seen maybe Jack start, but Welbeck would have been my preference, but he's clearly not fully match fit. So yeah, I wasn't surprised. I'm pleased we got the job done in the end, and Iwobi, he did all right. So yeah, no big deal in the end.
Was.
I'm not so convinced he did all right. Okay. Look, mate, I don't want to sit and slate the lad, but from the first second, we had a little discussion with Clive about his physicality, and literally about 15 seconds into the game, the first tackle that went in, he lost it, and then he lost possession 2 times quickly after, and he just seemed to struggle to regain confidence after that. It was almost as if he sort of went into a bit of a shell, and we all know that Iwobi's such a powerful, dominant figure. He's got all the physicality and very similar to Welbeck in his build and the way he can sprint. But it seems to me that he only, confidence-wise, seems to be holding back. There's something in there that's holding him back from really putting his stamp on games like this, where you'd see Ozil picking up the ball and things. And as a result, I think we kind of struggled to sort of get any rhythm in the first half whatsoever. And I think Burnley realised after they saw the way he reacted to that first challenge. Remember, he was limping about. He was limping about for sort of the next 5 minutes, and we actually nearly conceded from it, where they crossed it in where he was completely unopposed, the wide man, and Iwobi was just limping back, and they crossed it in, and luckily they didn't get a penalty because Monreal was, because the geezer was offside.
Yeah. So when you saw the lineup today, obviously we'd spoken before the game about, we wanted to see the same 11 as we saw it against Tottenham, same kind of performance, same kind of, outcome. You sort of line up, and the big glaring miss was Ozil. In comes Iwobi. Apparently Ozil's ill. What's your thoughts when you saw that?
Frustrated, a little bit alarmed, and I think for me, for this game, there certainly is other options like Jack. I mean, obviously, I found it very bizarre that he played the full 90 midweek. So that sort of ruled him out of contention definitely for today. I mean, the way Wenger's been playing the squads and that, but I mean, and also Danny Welbeck back and fit, apparently fighting fit and raring to go, and we all know what he offers the side, and maybe a game like today would have been a good shout for Danny Welbeck, but we all know the qualities Alex Iwobi has got, and we've seen him do things for Nigeria, and we can all appreciate what he can bring to the table, but I think missing Mesut Ozil is huge, and it's all a bit strange, that scenario. Saying apparently Arsene Wenger said he didn't even see him, and he was advised by doctors, and he travelled down, and he was sent home. So, and he's apparently not fit for Wednesday. Yeah,
and apparently he had a full day of training on Saturday as well, didn't he?
Like, yeah, I mean that is one hell of an illness, mate. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say he's had too many steins in Cologne, but clearly he wasn't training. He must be all right.
All right. I mean, so before me, you and mate Clive had a discussion on Twitter before the game about what Iwobi might bring in. A lot of people, some people were okay with Iwobi coming in, and our concern was really not so much his physicality, but really his technical ability, or his what is he going to bring? How is he going to offset Ozil's absence? Is he going to be assertive? Is he in his decision making? Is he going to offer the same kind of creativity that we obviously would need in a game like this? And that first half, his performance kind of encapsulated Arsenal's performance. Really, we never really got going. We were a bit too passive. We were second to the ball. Couldn't move their players around, and really and truly, I think they probably had arguably the best chance of the half. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, like you said, Burnley did make it very, very difficult for us, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there. There's no doubt about Iwobi's technical ability on the ball, but what people often don't appreciate with Mesut is what he does off the ball, and especially in transitions from deep, where we are under the cosh. We get the ball, Mesut is going to make that right decision, and he's not slow on that counter. And Iwobi at times, he's so good to watch on the ball, and he controls the ball very well, and he's intelligent, and he does get in decent areas, but like you said, it's that next ball, it's the next level, making that right decision and doing it at the right time. And yeah, we really did struggle in the first half, and I mean, I don't know what you thought, but we definitely struggled to get the fullbacks involved, and where we saw a lot of the time what we see with Mesut Ozil is, I've noticed it recently with that trio down that right hand side, when you get Bellerin, Ozil and Lacazette all get close, and they drag players across and drag them out, and then it gives Alexis the chance to come inside, and then we use the other fullback. And realistically, I mean, our fullbacks looked like they were on a pitch of their own, to be fair. Every time Hector Bellerin got the ball, he must have been in 20, 30 yards of space with no option, and unfortunately, I think that was down to the sort of the start that Alex Iwobi and Alexis Sanchez made, and we weren't picking up between the lines. And credit to Burnley, I must credit Burnley, because they were pressing high, and we know they're doing very well this season, and they were making it difficult for us. But often that's where you need that one moment where they'll lose a bit of confidence, because if they get it wrong once, and Mesut Ozil will punish you, and then that's when they realise that you're in trouble. So just want to see Iwobi add that to his game, because he certainly seemed to struggle a bit today. But we all know he's got it in all departments, apart from being that sort of killer at the moment. And we've seen it for Nigeria, as I said, but let's see it develop now. But yeah, I mean, first half we really did struggle to stamp ourselves on the game, and really we only had that one chance that come from a nothing throw in that Lacazette done superbly well, didn't we? And then And Ramsey really should have done better. Ramsey would expect him, but he done brilliant to get in that area. But yeah, we were under the cosh, mate. We really were, and I felt we defended like lions, to be fair.
And I think really, I mean, if we just go back to that Ramsey chance, I mean, as you said, it was a great sort of dummy by. Or a bit of movement by Lacazette to throw his defender and cross it in for thingy. And you thought, this is a team. We're playing a team that, although they give up lots of shots, they don't give up lots of big chances, which I think a lot of people fail to appreciate. You know, when people do the stats and whatnot, they're not really appreciating the fact that, you know, okay, they don't get many tackles in, but they do. But it's all down. It's not by chance. It's not luck. It's, you know, they know their positions. They know their roles. You know, they make it very difficult for any team to get big chances off against them. And that Ramsey chance, really, I thought, oh, you got to work the keeper at the very least on your right foot. You got to work the keeper. As it was, didn't happen. But I think, as you say, we were just too passive in that first half. And when you've got Iwobi struggling to make ends meet, if you want, and Alexis so peripheral, like, you know, not. If I said he wasn't interested, that might be too strong a term. That might even be the wrong term. But he just wasn't involved in the play. He was so peripheral. He was almost the ghost. And when you've got your two number 10s or false 10s, whatever you want to call them, out of the game, it's difficult. It's difficult.
It is.
Especially against a team that are so well drilled defensively that, you know, you need to move them out of position. You can't have your wing backs hanging around wide and not being given, you know, passing lanes or options and whatnot. You know, it's actually pointless having Bellerin so high up on the right if you're not going to use him effectively. You know,
mate. And this is key. This as I keep alluding to. But when we play teams like this, people are like, "Oh, it's not really a game where Ozil." But this is the exact game where because he is the guy that will. His beauty and simplicity, and people say he get kicked off the park. Teams don't get near Mesut Ozil because he's elusive. He finds the space, he finds the areas, and he just keeps the ball ticking over. And the gap between Xhaka and Ramsey and Lacazette was far too big at all times today, and it just seemed like we were going through the motions, and we missed something. We missed that creativity, and whether it's and this brings back to, I know we're going to Cazorla or Santi, but it would have been perfect if Mesut's not there. You just put him in that role, in behind, and because Alexis, as good as he is, I don't think he's a world class footballer, but is he the player? If you know what I mean, he's a world class player, but is he the? Do you know what I mean? He's not definitely the guy needs somebody. Take it on.
Yeah, he needs somebody. If he's the funder, he needs the ice. If he's the fire, he does need the ice. Somebody with a cool head that makes the runs, that creates the space. Exactly. You know,
and at Everton, you look how well he played at Everton because he had the ability and he had the opportunities to do that. And games like today, we saw it a lot in the second half. He's trying so hard to make the right pass and things. But again, his pass completion is down at sort of 66% because he's trying these risk passes. And
he's the only one, though. He's the only one.
Exactly.
He's the only one.
This is where he struggles because when he's enforced to make risk versus reward, because Iwobi, I mean, very rarely, if ever, makes a risky pass, and that's why his pass completion is always up at 88, 89, 90. So it's almost polar opposites between them, and Mesut gives you the, do you know what I mean, the middle ground, and that allows the balance. Yeah, but we definitely missed Mesut Ozil, and we did make hard work of it. But let's not underestimate how well Burnley did to close the space. But we certainly didn't move them about the park.
First half was a bit. I think we can all agree that Burnley had a better of the first half. Wenger said that it's half time. He decided he had to change things, and what he did, he said he brought Alexis more into the middle, more central. So that now we look like we adopted a 3-5-1-1 or 3-5-2, and with that, he's more in the game. And like you said, I know you said was that his pass was down at 66%, and he was the only creative hub. But at least now we're seeing much more intensity, a bit more creativity. We're moving their players around. He's creating holes and spaces for people like Iwobi and Lacazette and Ramsey. There's more width in our game, more so down the left and the right still. But still we're asking them questions. We're challenging them. What did you think of the second half? Would you agree that there was much more a tempo? A bit more intensity.
We stepped it up, mate. We definitely did step it up, and like we're saying, the intensity definitely raised, and you made the great point that Alexis come a bit more central. Maybe Iwobi was dropping in a little bit deeper, but we did seem to start moving the ball better. And as you said, a lot of the joy was down the left-hand side, but time and time again, you saw the space that Hector Bellerin was out on the right. And for me, it almost felt as if Burnley were happy to allow that, because they knew that with Lacazette being marshalled in the penalty area, and with Iwobi and Sanchez, they're not really two guys that are going to break into the box either. I think they were allowing Bellerin that space, and felt a bit sorry for him because he was still very isolated, and normally he's crowded. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, Lacazette, again, the link play started to show through. He really did impress me again. And like I said, for the full 90 minutes, I thought he was impeccable. I love the way he's aware at all times. He knows where he is, and he don't mind the battle. And but Alexis was trying, and we know how we spoke about it earlier. And he will try, and he tries again, and until something does pay off for him. And you can't fault his attempts and his commitment, but at times it just doesn't click for him. And we definitely did make a big stamp on that second half, and I think that even they realised pretty soon in that second half that the Arsenal had turned up now, and it was going to be a bit of a different game, and they dropped bodies in, but we did start to move them nicely, and we did move them across the park and create a few chances, mate. Yeah, so it was definitely more encouraging than the first, to be honest.
Faisal, second half, as we were saying, we had more of the ball. We seemed to, move them around a bit more. Burnley seemed to drop in and defend in the lower block, whereas before they were pressing up higher. We shifted our defensive line much higher and became more compact, pushed them back. Did you think that, would you have liked to have seen the changes earlier on in that second half, or do you think they came at the right time?
I think we changed as soon as the second half started, to be honest. I thought there was a much quicker tempo, and I think we were trying to be a bit more direct, and we were trying to force the play a little bit. We forced Burnley back. I think in the first half, Giles, I know you've covered it already, but Burnley actually played really well, and we saw today, and we've seen this season, that I think they've only conceded 2 goals at home, and there's a reason for that. They're so well drilled, they're so organised, they work really well as a unit, and they play the ball out from their back four really well as well. I mean, I noticed actually today that every time they sort of lumped it long, it wasn't just lumping it into space like a rugby kit, trying to just get the ball out of play. Like, they were lumping it long, and their forwards and their wide forwards were bringing the ball down quite nicely and holding it up. And they've got something about them, and Disha's done a great job. But Disha, I don't know how you pronounce it. He's done a really good job. And I think, we came out in the second half. We had a bit more urgency. We were much faster. Like you say, Sanchez dropped in, and that changed our shape. And Kolasinac, I think, was mentioned before. I had to go and see my daughter. Bellerin was getting so much space on the right-hand side, and if it wasn't for, better crossing, we might have scored a lot earlier. So I think we were a bit more assertive in that second half, and I think, obviously, when Jack came on as well, that kind of made a bit of a difference in terms of space in the midfield. So we got there in the end. We just had to be patient.
Would you have liked Jack to have come on earlier for Iwobi? What do you think?
Well, I think he came on at 65, didn't he? And for Arsenal, that's breaking territory. I mean, you've got to wait until like 70, 75 before anyone comes on. So I was surprised he came on that early. But maybe he could have come on earlier. To be honest with you, as excited as I was about Jack coming on, and he did make little pockets of space outside the D. I don't think he had that much of an impact on the game. So maybe his substitution wasn't all that. Surprised again to see Lacazette not complete the full game. Welbeck came on fresh legs, didn't really get involved too much, but he didn't really have much time, to be fair to him. So, I'm not sure how much more we could have done earlier, later, whatever, but certainly we came out in the second half after half-time, and we did play much different to the first half. And, when Burnley pressed, like you said, they started with the high press. You can't press like that for 90 minutes. You're not gonna, especially against a team that move the ball about so quick and so well. So it was going to come, and I think maybe Wenger's half-time team talk was, step up the game and just be patient and keep knocking on that door. And eventually we were a bit fortunate with the decision, but at the end of the day, couldn't really give 2 shits. Win's a win.
Yeah, quite. Okay, let's go on to the chief incident. injury stoppage time, I'm going to ask you straight out was, can you understand why Dyche and Burnley fans would have issue or have
No. Talking bollocks, mate. I'm sorry. Basically, all it is their fans love to whinge and moan. I've got a lot of admiration for Sean Dyche and the way his team play and the way they have, but their fans, honestly, I mean, anyone who's been up there will know it's horrendous. It is horrendous. Every 2 seconds they're crying, whinging. They love a good tackle themselves. As soon as one's put in, it's the end of the world against them. And to be honest with you, Lee Mason was atrocious today. I thought he was absolutely atrocious. There's a possibility that they could have had a straight red card for a bad tackle, which we were lucky on Ramsey, which was sorry, it wasn't on Ramsey. It was on
Natural Monreal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in the first half.
Yeah.
And then also I don't have no idea how Thingy wasn't given a second yellow card when we was on a clear counter attack and he just tripped us up already on a yellow card. And then there's question marks over could Hector Bellerin have had a penalty where he cut back and the guy's made a sliding tackle but won the ball with his head and he's completed the foul with his legs. So that's a grey area there as well. And to be honest with you, I mean, we had probably a perfect view of it from behind that goal, but I mean, there's 2 arms in the back, and at the end of the day, you can't do that in football, and that is the law. There's pulling shirts and jostling and that, but Ramsey's just positioning himself perfectly in front of him, and the defenders took the bait, and it was just an idiotic foul, to be fair, which is funny because he was announced man of the match about a minute before over the tunnel. So, but yeah, I don't think there's any complaints there, and people might say it's soft, but at the end of the day, if you're a centre back, you shouldn't be stupid enough to be putting 2 hands on your centre forward and extending your arms. So, yeah, I mean, it's about time we got a nice late decision like that. And Mason was terrible on both parts, to be fair. So it swings and roundabouts. And yeah, last season we were a lot more lucky, but this season, in a sense of the game, they were probably unlucky not to get a point, Burnley. But who cares? Like FK said, we get in these places and we get out there away with the 3 points. And it was always going to be tough after the London derby last week and the highs and enjoyment of that. Coming to Burnley is always going to be a difficult game, and it's freezing cold, pissing down with rain, and you just got to get in and out, haven't you, mate? And I thought it was 100% a penalty. 100%.
FK, I assume that you were in a complete 100% agreement with Woz. So that being the case, who was your man of the match?
Oh, mate, that's a good question. To be honest, I don't think there were many standout players for Arsenal. Purely because I thought Burnley were the better team in the first half, and in the second half it was fairly even though we dominated play and obviously got quite lucky with. I say lucky with the penalty. I mean lucky only because it was a definite penalty, but we've seen them go against us in the past. Man of the match wise, I was impressed with our back 3. I mean, Mustafi played well again. I think there was a stat going around after the game that he's played 5 or 6 games this season and he's not conceded any, playing alongside Koscielny and Monreal. Kolasinac, I thought, did really well down our left flank. A little bit of a disappointing end product from time to time, just sort of a bit rash with the cross come shots, but no one really stood out for me, so it'd probably have to be one of those 2. What do you think? Do you disagree, or am I being completely bonkers?
Was you were there?
No, yeah, interesting on Kolasinac. I thought physically, again, he showed a good side, and he works hard, and he kept getting in the areas. I thought his passing was a bit off today, for his usual self, and he's been a revelation, to be fair, to us down that left-hand side. He's absolutely unstoppable at times, and I just, like the rest of the team really, he sort of lacked a bit of intensity in the first half. I thought, like you touched on there, FK, I thought Mustafi was absolutely sensational, especially in the first half. He revolutionised his game plan in the centre of that 3, and that 3, I just want to touch on them. I just think they're the perfect mix, and for years and years and years, we've looked at Laurent Koscielny in a 2, and we've always looked to him as being the main man and the main centre-back, but really, I don't ever think he has been that guy who should be taking on that mantle, and you can see with the weight lifted off his shoulders in that new role, just to the side, perfect. Mustafi sitting in, directing traffic. He's a leader as well. He talks and talks and talks, and he's a real warrior. He's throwing himself into challenges, and he's a stereotypical German centre-back, and to see him performing like this and improving week in, week out, and Monreal again, I mean, that guy, if he ever leaves his feet, he's only ever winning the ball, and when he every now and then he gets caught, but he's got speed of recovery that is outrageous. I don't know how he's got it, because he doesn't strike me as being a rapid player, but very rarely makes mistakes, and he's just grown into that role. And the three of them together, like you said, 5 games, no goals conceded. You can't bloody argue with that. But yeah, I thought Granit Xhaka actually had a decent game today, defensively especially. He was very, very quick. If Burnley won the ball and we were high, he was very quick to get back in, and he made that, I don't know if you remember, that superb tackle in the second half where often that we do slate Xhaka for that, for his speed of recovery and his ability to tackle, but that was exceptional there because they were away, and I felt he had a good game, but it just didn't seem to, I don't know, we just didn't really click until the second half, and even then we weren't creating chances at will, and the link where we've seen the balls whipped out to our full backs and we're bursting in and looking exciting like at Everton and in spells against Spurs and them sort of games, it just didn't really happen today, but it can't happen every week, mate. So, like Faisal said, I mean, to choose a man of the match would be very difficult. But again, like there's mentioned for Lacazette, I thought his touch was very good. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of them games where we just sort of draw a line under it and say, my God, thank you, 3 points. We left it late, but yeah, at the moment we got there.
I just want to touch on Mustafi. He won 9 aerial duels, 1 key pass, 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, 5 clearances, pass success rate of 83.6%. We touched on it last week, myself, Axe and Dave, and I said that we'd actually only conceded 1 goal when he was in the team. And then you add to that, you add now this, was it 5 or 6 games where that back three have been playing with not conceded a goal. He's really come back really strongly after obviously the summer of uncertainties and Chinese whispers and dirty rumours. And I have to say, I was a bit worried about him, but I have to say he has come back. He seems to have been renewed in his focus. That the central role in that back three, he does look command, he does direct, he is a talker. My only concern with him last season was, especially in that Bayern Munich game where he played away and he was talking to someone, he completely looked the other way as, I think it was Lewandowski went through on goal, and I just thought, what is that? No, I've never seen such a thing on a football field, but I think he's come back really retuned, really refocused.
Yep. Do you know, sorry to interrupt you, I just want to quickly point, I think massively what helps is, we talk about these 5 games. You've had Xhaka, Ramsey in 4 of them 5, and the other Xhaka and Ramsey played, and then he was CM at home. And I've noticed a hell of a lot. You watch Mustafi and Ramsey, and they're constantly in discussion, them two. And in the first half, Ramsey was screaming at him. He was saying, push out, like the gap's too big. He's saying, you're too deep, you've got to get out. And Mustafi's giving it back to him. No, like, not aggressively, not having a go at each other, but they're just constantly talking and switched on, and it's nice. And you can see him advising people, and it's a big, big difference for us, mate. And you need them leaders. And although Mustafi might not be physically imposing, he certainly makes up for it for how tough he is and his leadership skills. And you forget how young he is for a centre-back as well. And it's great to see. And it's just that consistency, I think, of that 3 and the 2 in front. You continue with that, and the keeper, obviously, and it will just get better and better and better. And they've been tough games to keep clean sheets, and hopefully it continues.
And it's interesting because, in a day and age where people say there's no leaders, you look around the Arsenal scene, there's no leaders that we're used to. It's good to see that, and guys not being afraid to have a word with each other on the field of play, and instructing and giving clear instructions to what they want from your fellow player, from your fellow teammate. I saw people saying that it was a poor 1-0 win, blah blah blah, this, that, the other. We got out of there luckily, but yesterday, Man United didn't play well against Brighton. They struggled at home. They got lucky with a deflected. I think it went down as an own goal actually. Man City today came from behind, didn't play particularly well against Huddersfield. Got a really lucky goal in the dying embers of the game for Sterling, Raheem Sterling. So when you look at it, just how big do you think that result is, Faisal? And also not only how big the result was, but when you take it into context as like, do you think Man United and Man City fans are sort of like having a go at themselves and looking down on these results and thinking, we should have played better? Or do you think they're like, you know what? It's winter. We need 3 points. No one cares about aesthetics. Take your 3 points, move on to the next game.
Well, I think in any season, you'd always look back and there'll always be games that you just really can't remember the performance of, or you just don't want to remember the performance of. Sometimes, it's just the way football is. You like was said earlier, you turn up to work and you're on fire, and sometimes you turn up to work and you're just getting it done. I think this weekend there was a lot of pressure on Arsenal going into it, obviously after beating Tottenham, and with United winning and a couple of our rivals dropping points, particularly Spurs and Liverpool and Chelsea, and Burnley have got such a formidable home record. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of people maybe thought that Arsenal would drop points, and even some of our own fans, sort of going up to the game or watching in and before the game on Twitter, there wasn't so much optimism about. So, look, at the end of the day, it's important that we won the game. It keeps our momentum in the league. I know we lost on Thursday, but that game was academic. We've just won the North London derby. We've beaten Burnley. Not many teams are going to go to Burnley and get 3 points this year. You just feel that. And, we've got a chance now. Huddersfield, like you said, Giles, games just come thick and fast at this time of year. It's cold. The weather's unpredictable. Players, they pick up knocks, and you're really testing the squad. So it's just a game every sort of 3-4 days. And now it's just build that momentum. Massive game on Saturday. If we can get through Huddersfield this Wednesday night without any issues or too much difficulty, get a nice 3 points there, and then Saturday, beat United, and all of a sudden, you look at the fixtures in December, and a lot of those games are winnable. I think we've got Liverpool at home over the Christmas period, either Liverpool or Chelsea. Sorry,
Liverpool's on the 22nd.
Is it Liverpool? Yeah. So you've got Liverpool on the 22nd, but otherwise, you've got your West Ham, your Bournemouth, the games that we could really go on a bit of a run at the moment. So I'm not really fussed about the performance. I think before the game, when we were talking about Ozil being dropped, not dropped, but not in the squad, I could understand it was going to be just one of those days, one of those struggles, and I'm just really pleased that we've got the goal. And it's like heart stopping sometimes when you go in 90 minutes, you see the injury time thing go up, and it's only 2 minutes, and you're thinking, shit, we're going to drop points today, and then Alexis stepped up. So I'm delighted, mate. I don't think you remember performances like this too much at the end of the season, so nothing to worry about.
Quite right. Let's look into our crystal ball. We've got Huddersfield on Wednesday. You both told me that Ozil was likely to not be in the squad, so we're keeping you fresh for Saturday. Tough one. But as Faisal said to us, they don't travel well. Do you see this as who do you expect to play? Do you think this is the point where Welbeck will come in and maybe Jack will come in, or do you think Iwobi keeps his place on Wednesday?
I think you're desperate for the spark and the creativity, and I'd question whether Welbs and Sanchez can be the two behind Lacazette. I'm not sure there's enough creativity there. There's a lot of hard work and an effort, but you're going to miss Mesut so much, and if Alex Iwobi isn't on form, me personally, how fit is Jackie Wilshere? Because he is the guy that will almost attempt to replicate the Mesut Ozil role and get in between them lines and move the ball on quick and try and do that. And he has actually got that creative end product. And although we haven't seen anywhere near enough recently, but we know he can do it. And I want to see him in a squad. It's all very well saying, Jack Wilshere, he should play for England or this from Arsenal, but then you can't have a day like today where it's a key game and he's put his trust in Alex Iwobi and not necessarily backfired on him, but he's brought Jack on and we've ended up winning the game. And for me, Wednesday I'd go Jack and hope that Ozil was back for the United game. But as Faisal said, we got 10 games in 33 days. So, do you know what I mean? It's going to be ridiculous for not just the players, for the fans and for everyone involved. It's going to be carnage in December. So, we've really got to manage our expectations and our squad correctly during this time. But, hopefully where Wenger has literally been making 11 changes for the midweek games, hopefully we've got enough in the tank to see us through this Christmas period and pick up some very, very, very big points. But with regards to Huddersfield, we can't take anything lightly. And yeah, I personally would start Jack if I was gonna choose one of the three. And I might even be tempted to rest Alexis possibly and start Jack and Welbeck behind Lacazette, but I don't know. As long as there's a strong bench, and you should realistically at Huddersfield at home, I know they're no mugs and the other teams struggle past them a bit, but I think we should have enough there with Jack and Wells and behind Lacazette, but I haven't got a clue what Arsenal's going to do, to be honest with you,
Faisal, would you rest Alexis and keep him fresh for Saturday then? Or would you keep him in there and then put in either, like with Jack, as was said, either Jack for his creativity or Welbeck for his running and endeavour?
I would certainly change things up. I mean, I would even risk resting Lacazette and Sanchez for Saturday. You know, I think we can play Welbeck and Giroud up top.
Are we lacking respect for our opponents by doing that? Or do you think the drop off isn't so
well, Welbeck's an England international. Giroud's a France international. Giroud's a very, very good striker. So, I mean, yeah, look, you're not playing Sanchez. Fair enough. Some people may see it as disrespectful, but we've got a really good squad there, and actually up front we've got some good options. So if Welbeck is fit, and Giroud obviously was fit enough to be on the subs bench today, and to be fair, Huddersfield, you know, I'm sure they're the sort of team that put it about a bit in you know, long balls, set pieces. Giroud, we know in the past he can defend as well as attack, so it might not be such a bad idea. I was talking to a friend of mine after the game and wondering whether it'd be worth breaking up Xhaka and Ramsey just for that game, just to give maybe Ramsey a rest. I don't know. I mean, I'd change it up. I don't know what he's going to do, but maybe keep the back three the same. Bellerin, to me, he starts games really well, gets into so many good positions, but I think he's blown out of his arsehole by the time the full-time whistle goes, and you can't blame him. And maybe he needs a rest if he's going to have a big game on Saturday. So I'd definitely freshen it up, and Jack for me could definitely start.
Do you think we run the risk of like too many changes might affect the momentum?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's an art to rotating the squad, isn't there? I mean, you don't just make 7-8 changes for a game 3 days later. You want to keep, you know, your core. That's what I was saying. Sort of saying the goalkeeper, the back three. You know, maybe Xhaka. That's like if that's your base, you can change your centre forward and your wide forwards with hopefully not too much disruption to the squad. But no, that's for the big man to decide. Personally, you asked me the question, I would definitely rotate, because I think we'd have enough in the tank to get past Huddersfield. Yeah, keep Sanchez on the bench. You keep Lacazette on the bench. We should have enough in the tank to get past Huddersfield. And as long as Lacazette and Sanchez and Ozil are all flying for Saturday against United, that's you have to keep an eye on the weekend. There's some people that would say, no, just play your best 11 every week for every game that you've got, but you can't. The Premier League is just so fierce. It's so physically demanding. You need to be, you know, you fall asleep for 5 seconds and it's game over. So he's got to rotate for me. What do you think?
I would say there's a bit of rotation necessary, but I'm not sure. I wouldn't make wholesale changes. I'm interested to know. I mean, I'm wondering if Bellerin, if what you're saying is right, and Bellerin is starting to blow a bit. Can we bring in Maitland-Niles in that right-hand side to give him a bit of a break? Or has he got enough in the tank to play Wednesday and then play Saturday? Because he's probably, I think, has he been involved in every game this season, every league game this season, Bellerin?
It feels like it. I mean,
yeah, he must have been. And Kolasinac.
I can't imagine anybody else playing it right back, to be honest, for Arsenal in an important game. I mean,
well, we had Oxlade-Chamberlain, but Bellerin was shifted out to the left. But I think he's played in every league game this season. So,
well, the thing is, I mean, I know he's young and I know he's obviously fit, but yeah, you're asking a lot. I mean, he's still quite young, so he's still, obviously he's got a lot in the tank, but it's 3 games in a row and Manchester United on Saturday. You don't want him running out of steam when you've got, Martial or Rashford running up against you. I mean, that could be dangerous, but, who else do you play? I mean, Maitland-Niles, I've talked about him on this podcast before. I don't really see the hype in the boy. I hope I'm proven wrong, but, Debussy is just, I don't know what's happened to him. Maybe you give Callum Chambers, I don't know, but he needs a rest.
I wouldn't give Callum Chambers that right wing back berth. Definitely not. I think the only player to me that seems similar in in profile is Maitland-Niles. He's got the recovery pace. He's decent defensively. He's not brilliant defensively. He's still learning the trade, but he has been gaining experience on the left-hand side of the back five, on his weaker side. It's got to stand him in good stead. He has the physical profile to do those doggy runs up and down. And who's he going to be up against? He's going to be up against Van La Parra or some guy or whatever. I don't know. I don't know who they play on their left-hand side. But, I think that might be a game to bring him in and maybe switch one of the false tens as well. Like, freshen that up a bit. But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Reece Nelson's also played sort of right wing back, and I know he's much more offensive than Maitland-Niles. Maitland-Niles would probably be the safe bet if we had to choose out of the two. But maybe you load the left-hand side and you don't tell Kolasinac to go so forward, and you let Reece Nelson get forward because he's much better in the final third. I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, Bellerin probably will start Wednesday, probably will start Saturday. But I do worry though that if he's getting 40, 50 games plus a season. That's going to be really bad for him in the longer term.
He's doing 40, 50 sprints a game as well. I think
he gets up and down that pitch. I feel for him actually. I really feel for him because there are times he's quite easy to pinpoint for, in terms of criticism. There's a lot of fans that think he's wasteful and that, but sometimes he's just genuinely knackered. You can see it. He's huffing and puffing, and he puts in a shift every single game. He needs to be rotated.
No, I was just going to say, it is a big concern of mine, sort of, and this goes back to things I've been noticing for years and years, is Arsenal's management of the squad, and it's not for me as cut and dry as let's start him and rest him, and then he's coming back after 90 minutes on the bench and he's going to be fresh as a daisy. I think players benefit much more from playing consistently, but not playing the full 90 minutes, and for years and years and years, Wenger's failed to almost protect our big players. And I know Alexis doesn't want to come off and Ozil or whatever, but and especially the rotation at fullback. Surely if you're into a game and you're doing all right, you're 2-0 up, surely there's a opportunity to take Hector Bellerin off or rotate Kolasinac.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to go about things rather than a cut and dry 2-11 system, which is sort of implemented with the Europa League, which is fine, but especially with that nucleus, that, like you was talking about, that five for me, I really want to see them start as many games as possible, and Xhaka, Ramsey, but again, you've got to manage Aaron Ramsey, you've got to manage Granit Xhaka, and it's picking and choosing the right moments, because obviously you only get to make 3 subs a game, and you don't want to be in a position where you're wasting one of them subs unnecessarily, but it's all about analysing the way the game's going. And even today, we only made 2 subs, didn't we? We only made 2 of the 3 subs. And we just seem to almost, especially now he's been utilising 2 different squads. It's almost as if he thinks to himself, well, it don't matter because I'll just keep them all on because they're not going to be playing midweek. But I just think players will benefit a bit more from a fresh rotation, and especially backup players as well. Someone like
to get a run of games, exactly.
Get a run of games, but getting a run of games in the settled 11, not a run of games with a load of other players. You know what I mean? And someone like Maitland-Niles, I do agree. I am a big fan of him. I want to see him on the right hand side. For me, certainly he's better in the middle of the park. We did it at Ipswich on the right hand side, and as you say, his physical profile would help. But it'd be nice to see him in a balanced, settled Arsenal 11. And Hector Bellerin's done a shift, 60 minutes. 2-0 up against Huddersfield, that'd be the dream world. Let's have a look at bringing our fullbacks off and let's see who we can rest. And especially if you start, for me, in the ideal world, if you started Welbeck, Wilshere, Giroud as a front three, and you add Alexis, Lacazette, and or 2 of Alexis and Lacazette and whoever Iwobi on the bench, it'd be nice that you'd be in a scenario where the game's comfortable. I know it's the ideal world, but then you could make subs elsewhere on the park and rest Ramsey, rest Xhaka, and do you know what I mean? It's just, I think you've got to manage that squad in game more than worrying about the 11.
I agree. See, there's 2 sides to your argument. You've made one great argument to keep
ruined it
by bringing in the away for cup free. You know what I mean? Lacazette's not really had many. He was taken off again. So I'm not sure I would take him out of the starting lineup because I think he's still fresh. I think he's still got minutes in him. The two behind, there might be, I think there's an argument for maybe, resting Alexis, but then again, like you say, his fitness levels are off the charts, and his recovery rate is unbelievable, and I think his peak and load level is actually much higher than the average Premier League player. So, his recovery rates are great, but I agree with you. If you take off Bellerin, if you don't start Bellerin, then that right hand side becomes disrupted. Maitland-Niles, does he have the relationship with Koscielny? Koscielny might have to overcompensate on the right hand side to make sure that channel's solid again going forward. How does he link up with the Ramsey on the right hand of the right of the two central midfielders, and again the false number 10 on the right hand side? I mean, how does that relationship work? So I understand that, but at the same time, taking out what I call the Holy Trinity and bringing in the UEFA League Trinity, I don't know. I think that's a couple of changes too many in that respect, especially at the top of the field where you need goals.
Well, I think with Mesut not available, I mean, I completely agree with Lacazette should start, to be honest with you, mate. But I do like Olivier Giroud a lot, but I think it'd be a great option off the bench to be fair, days like today would have been a great option off the bench. Got away with it in the end. But the thing is, if Lacazette stays in, that's great. I mean, obviously Mesut's going to be unavailable, so that's an enforced change anyway with Jack. And then, like you're saying, you're looking at choosing between sort of Welbs and Alexis maybe, and making that decision. But if you started it, I'd be more than happy if we started Alexis, Lacazette and Wilshere, and we took one of them forward players out and a CM out and a defender out. Do you know what I mean? Made 3 subs. But that's in an ideal world. We never know how the games are going to go. But I made a point of ruining it.
It's amazing how nobody talks about Theo Walker anymore. I mean, amazing.
I suppose for me, he's quite a specialist player. He's a very specialist player in that he works on the right hand side of a certain kind of system. And I think that for me, I have been kind of a bit disappointed that he's not been able to take up that front man role. There are players that are similar to him in profile that have sort of worked and done a job in that front man role, but I don't know. This system's just not cut out for him. I mean, I haven't really watched that much of the Europa League, but from what I've seen, has he deserved? Has he warranted? Has he challenged? Is he challenging anybody for a starting position or a position of bench?
But the thing is with that though, G, to be fair, is like Jack had a pretty bang average game midweek, but I don't really, when I've been watching these Europa League games, I mean, I've been doing it with one eye shut sort of thing, because it's not, you got to take things with a pinch of salt, because these players, it's almost a mishmash 11. It's like a training 11. Do you know what I mean? You're just turning up and you're playing settled, balanced teams. And when you see Theo, if you put Theo in with Ozil and Lacazette and Ramsey and Xhaka, you might see a different Theo Walcott. And if you put Maitland-Niles in with, do you know what I mean? If you put one player into a settled 11, you might reap the rewards. And I think it's a shame that it's two completely different squads at the moment, rather than do you know what I mean? A whole entire squad. But maybe that's just for the group stage. But yeah, Theo he's out injured at Water Hill at the moment. He I don't know what's up.
Oh, is he? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, he weren't in the squad because he was ill, the last 2 games apparently. Well, I don't know what illness he's got, but it's just, again, it could be one of them things we don't know. He could have agreed a deal away from the club in January or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a loan move.
I mean, I really, how much I like Theo Walcott. I don't want to see him leave, and especially days like today where I see that space on that right wing, and I just think
exactly
he would have been the perfect sub for today, because he would have gobbled up that space and it would have pulled Burnley across, and where we had them 2 behind Lacazette, not one of them was retaining the width at all at any stage of the game. It was constantly inside, and I just think there, you bring Theo and Giroud on, it completely changes the dynamic of everything. So it's frustrating with Theo, but yeah, just Arsenal's got to use his squad properly, mate. I think that's what it all boils down to.
Just before we go, I wanted to ask you, what do you think Jack has to do to retain a long-term future here? I mean, what else does he have to do? I mean, you said that he's not really didn't have a good game in midweek. Didn't have really much opportunity to sort of affect the game at Burnley. Do you feel in your heart of heart that he's still got a future, or do you think your head's telling you actually it's erring on the side of, he sees his future also? I mean, Wenger did say at the beginning of the season he wants the best for Jack, whether it's here or elsewhere. Do you think we are slowly seeing a part in the ways? And if not, what does he have to do to stake a claim? Start with you and then over to Fires.
I love Jack. I love Jack's versatility. We've spoken before about the amount of roles he can play and what he can give to the side. And I think, to be fair to Jack, and like I was just saying about Theo, I want to see Jack given more of these opportunities like today, where he's coming into these games. And if he's not coming into them, there's definitely a possibility he could start. Certainly, if Mesut Ozil was out, for me, he'd be a shoo-in replacement in that position. And that's now. And Jack Wilshere's fit. I mean, he made over 30 appearances last season. He's fit for Arsenal this season. Obviously I don't see the lads train every week, so I don't personally understand why the Arsenal persists with Alex Iwobi over Jack at the moment. That's just my personal opinion. I really would like to see him give him more game time, but I hope it ain't the end of the road for Jack. And I mean, obviously we don't know what's going to be happening at the future of the club with Arsene Wenger, so it might not even be. I know his contract runs out in the summer, so he'd have to sign a deal, but whether he's short term or long term, I don't know. But I certainly would be keeping Jack Wilshere at the football club, and personally I wouldn't have loaned him out last season. I just think he has got a hell of a lot to offer, and I think the more he plays, the more minutes he gets, and you saw it in spurts today, the link-up play. He had that deflected shot that just went wide, but he's on a level with Sanchez, and he can play that football. He can play that fast sort of five-a-side football and be progressive. And Jack could be a key player for us. He still can, and I still believe he can. And whether his injuries have completely hampered his career, sort of like Diaby, like Rosicky, and we never will get the full Jack Wilshere, maybe. But he's still young enough to continue the fitness, and if he makes another 30 appearances this season, we all know on his day he's good enough to knock most players out of this side, and he's certainly up there he's certainly England's most creative hope for the World Cup, and I really just want to see him get fit and get back in. But we saw him just before his previous injury and before we went out on loan again for England, and that he was getting goals, and for Arsenal he was getting progressive, getting goals in the final third. And we all want Jack to succeed, mate, to be honest, but I don't think him in the Europa League side is really gonna aid the cause. And if that's the only chance he's got to stay at this football club, I think he'll be gone.
Pfizer, over to you. I mean, I noticed Ramsey took a knock today. Don't know if that might flare up, and that might turn to something a bit more serious for the Wednesday game. But do you see Wednesday as a really big audition for Jack if he comes in? Does it really tell us a lot about, how that performance, if he plays on Wednesday, would it tell us a lot about where Wenger sees him or where he sees himself in the Arsenal hierarchy?
I don't think so. There'll be a lot of people, Giles, that will tell you that whenever Jack starts his next game, they will judge him on that game. But if as Arsenal fans, we've seen Jack's journey. He came in as a youngster, set the world on fire with that 1 year, and then of course injuries have completely scuppered his development. But the facts of this, right? Jack Wilshere is 25 years old, which is amazing, because you'd think, given that he had that Barcelona year, well, it feels like an eternity ago. He's still very, very young. For me, he is England's most naturally gifted, most technically gifted midfielder that there is, and for those reasons alone, we should absolutely sign him up. I mean, I love Jack Wilshere. Likewise, my opinion is influenced by the fact that he's an Arsenal boy, and he's been at the club since he was 9 or whatever it is, and he's one of our own, and we absolutely love him for that. And I think he's definitely got a role to play in this squad. In terms of what he's got to be doing, Giles, he just has to do what he's doing. He just has to keep going with what he's doing right now. So we can't judge him on Europa League games, but that's where he's getting game time. That's where he's getting fitness and sharpness. I think we'll see now over the next few games, certainly over Christmas, he's going to get 15, 20 minutes, half an hour here and there. Might even get a full game every now and again, but it'd be very dangerous to either big him up or to write him off based on one performance. Whether he starts on Wednesday or not, obviously a decision for the big man. If Ramsey's got the knock and he wants to not play him, I probably think Wenger's going to go for one of Coquelin or Elneny, but much to Waz's delight, I'm sure.
Oh my god!
But you know, Jack for me, he's got it all. I think Arsene Wenger's being really careful with Jack this year. They're taking him out of the heat by playing him in the Europa League games. He played, I think, in the League Cup games. He's probably going to get the FA Cup games. I think the Premier League is going to come in slow. But the key is to manage expectation. You know, we've been there so many times, Giles, where he's rushed back in, you'll get soft tissue injuries, or, you know, he gets scuppered because he gets played in a big game and he has an impact injury, and it just knocks him. And I wouldn't want to see Jack Wilshere anywhere else. You know, I mean, even if he, let's say with the beauty of hindsight, in 5 years' time we sit back and say, you know what, it didn't work out. I'd rather it didn't work out at Arsenal. And I know that sounds really silly because I'm saying something at the expense of the team, but every now and again you get a player who you just love. You know, when as a fan, you just want him to do so well. You want him to really play for the club, and you can see how much it means to him. So Arsene Wenger's been really patient with him. I can't imagine Wenger would say to him, look, you haven't got a contract here. I think they'll offer him a contract. But whether he feels that it's the right thing for his career and whether he feels that he can get money maybe elsewhere or more game time elsewhere, that's up to him. But I would love to see Jack Wilshere stay, and I think he's got a really important role to play.
Good stuff. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up around there. Very quickly, predictions for the Huddersfield game score prediction.
Oh god. 2-0. I'm going 2-0 hopefully, mate. 2-0.
Yep.
It's just, to be fair, I've had enough of football now. I've had enough of this week.
Yeah.
I've had a full week of it.
You'll be up and at it.
Exactly.
I bet you'll be lying in bed in 10 minutes' time and there'll be tweets coming out about Ramsey. Sure. I was going to go 2-0 as well, Giles, but I'll go 3-1 just to be different.
Cool. I think I'll go 2-0 as well to Arsenal. Right. I think we'll wrap it up there. I'm tired as everyone else is. It's been a good Ramble podcast. I've been your host, Giles. Thanks to my esteemed colleagues, Faisal.
Thank you very much for having me, and sorry for the hiccup in the middle.
No worries. And also Was.
Super. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoyed it.
Cheers. And catch us. Please subscribe, like, comment, rate, whatever. YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Androids, apps, all the platforms. It's been a good Ramble. Up your Arsenal.
Being stylish shouldn't break the bank. At NJ Watches, we offer elegant men's watches without elegant prices. Order from our unique brand to receive up to 50% off and free UK delivery. Visit www.njwatches.co.uk.